A man walked into my therapy room and said, "I cannot control my anger." Nobody brought him in. He just voluntarily walked into my office and said that he seems to be very angry. He tried many techniques, watched YouTube videos, tried breathing, muscle relaxation, but none of these techniques ever helped him to gain control of himself. His wife says that he is angry for nothing. Colleagues term him as short-tempered, and his children tend to avoid him. Now, at first glance, what we see is a man with emotional issue, especially anger control issue. But then as therapists, we need to understand that what the client states need not be the issue. So therefore we pause, we ask questions, and then we will try to identify what the real issue is, and then we deal with them therapeutically. So I started asking a different question. What if anger was not the issue in this scenario? I am Stanley, the founder of ATMANAM, Center for Counseling, Psychotherapy, and Skills Training. Here in these videos, we try to understand the problems and the symptoms and how we can treat people therapeutically. He was 38-year-old, working in a company, hardworking, responsible, and he had no experience of psychiatric need. Neither did he indulge in alcohol or substance abuse. But one thing that was so pronounced was his anger. He would get angry for little things, like a towel on a cot, or somebody who does not turn in on time, traffic, children not listening to him. Everything triggered anger. While listening to a story, we might jump into a technique. But let's pause. Let's try to understand the case. Let's try to create our hypotheses, and then we will test it. And then we'll pinpoint what the real issue is. Hypothesis 1. Could it be a poor anger management? If this were to be true, relaxation, breathing exercises, and positive visualization should have helped him. In fact, he knew these techniques and sometimes he had tried it. But none of these exercises or anger managing or coping strategies ever worked to reduce his anger. Hypothesis 2. Could the anger try to protect another emotion? Let's explore. Anger often functions like an armor. It's easier to get angry than to feel hurt, or feel anxious, or feel frustrated, or feel incompetent. So therefore, I asked him a question. What happens when you are angry? He narrated an incident. His son broke an expensive watch. He got angry, shouted at him. The child started crying. His wife was upset. Then he paused for a while and said, "It was not about the broken watch that made me angry." That sentence caught my attention. Now I asked him, if it was not the watch, what made you angry? Then he went on to say, "Nobody values my effort. I work so hard for the family. I try to protect them, provide for them. But unfortunately, nobody appreciates my work. Now the case is taking shape. The anger that he experienced was not because somebody was late. It's not because somebody made a mistake. It's not because something did not go well. But he felt undervalued or unappreciated. So let's try to understand, where did this feeling begin? A good therapist is not satisfied with the current explanation, rather dives deep into the past to see what is the root cause of the problem. When I asked, extraordinary, he said his father was a disciplinarian. People were not appreciated because they don't deserve it. In fact, mistakes were picked up and highlighted. And he always felt undervalued in front of his father's eyes. Therefore, he concluded his childhood as, nothing was enough for my father. Now we understand where things come from. There was a deep-rooted wound. There is a deep wound that the man carries, and every situation triggers that wound. Therefore, he gets angry. It was not about what's happening currently, but he was trying to address his past today. As we stated, he did not have an anger issue. In fact, he was trying to address an unfulfilled need. Anger was only a vehicle, a messenger. The message was the pain that he carries within himself. Unfortunately, he was trying to stop the messenger without understanding the message. At this stage, we try not to teach him or coach him with additional techniques. Instead, we try to understand his thought process. We use CBT, we use REBT to address his thoughts. He was able to understand that the current moment, the current understanding is more important, and this awareness will probably help him to deal with his anger. Secondly, we also used Gestalt empty chair technique to deal with the wound itself, the pain that he carried for so long. Several weeks later, he met me again. This time he laughed. And he also told me that he was not totally out of this anger issue, but instead he was aware before he gets angry. He also narrated an incident that his son broke something. And he said, I did not react. I just laughed at it. I felt frustrated, but then I told myself, it is not that they don't love me. It's not that they don't care for me. I am valued. At the moment I told myself this sentence, I felt better. I didn't feel angry, because understanding replaces reaction. As therapists, people come with their own diagnosing, their own explanation. I have anxiety, I have irritability, I have anger issues. But the statement that they make need not be the problem in itself. They could be the symptoms of something much larger. As therapists, we are supposed to stop and try to create hypotheses, think things through, ask the relevant question that will lead us to the root cause. If you like this episode, like, share, and subscribe. Until then, keep learning, keep moving, and keep growing. This is ATMANAM inside the therapy room.